I know it's going the wrong way. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Air Products and Air Products Canada, I am pleased to welcome all of you to one of our hydrogen production facilities in the Edmonton region. My name is Rachel Smith, and I'm the Vice President and General Manager of Air Products Canada. We are so honored today to host Canada's Deputy Prime Minister and continue the important discussion on hydrogen and how it will play an essential role in achieving net zero goals. I know our Alberta team behind me was excited to show the Minister our operations and highlight our exceptional safety and reliability track record in supplying hydrogen to our customers. The production facilities you see behind me today supply various industrial customers throughout Edmonton and Alberta Heartland region through our well-established hydrogen pipeline network. As the world's leading supplier of hydrogen, Air Products is leading the way in driving the energy transition through executing real world-scale projects around the globe. And I'm incredibly proud to say one of these projects is our new Edmonton Net Zero Hydrogen Energy Complex that's set to commence construction this fall, only a few kilometers away from where we are today. This new world-scale facility will be a game changer for Western Canada. Not only will we be producing hydrogen on a net zero emission basis using natural gas, but we will also be demonstrating hydrogen-fired power generation and producing liquid hydrogen that will help enable the transition of the transportation sector to a zero-emission fuel. With over 60 years of global hydrogen experience, Air Products has the proven track record, technologies, and capabilities to help develop Canada's hydrogen economy and create a cleaner energy future. Minister, I'd like to personally thank you for the Government of Canada's strong support for our Edmonton project and for visiting one of our manufacturing operations today. It's been a pleasure. And with that, please welcome to the podium Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks for the tour. Thanks for today. Thanks a lot. Wow, big mic. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Rachel, and thank you very much. That's okay. Start again. Okay. Thank you very much, Rachel, and thank you very much to the team for the great tour today, the great explanation. It's so inspiring for me to be with people who take such an obvious pride in the work they're doing. And I just want to say that pride is infectious. I'm proud of the work you do here, and I think everyone in Canada should be. Je veux d'abord reconnaître que les terres sur lesquelles nous sommes réunis sont les territoires du traité numéro 6 et de la nation Métis. I am so glad to be here in Edmonton today with the incredible workers of Air Products. The work being done here is exactly what Canada is relying on to grow our economy and supply the energy that we and our allies will need for years and generations to come. This is a company that has been around for more than 80 years, developing and operating some of the world's largest industrial gas projects. And as the global economy moves towards clean, low-carbon energy sources, the expertise the people have here is going to be even more valuable than ever before. Hydrogen is mainly used in industrial processes today, but we all know that it can fuel heavy-duty vehicles like buses, trucks, and trains, maybe farm machinery too. Hydrogen can be used in our cars and our homes. That work is being done right now at Air Products, here just outside Edmonton, by some of the amazing people I've met today. And that's why our government was so proud last year to work with Air Products and the province of Alberta to support a $1.3 billion investment in a new net zero hydrogen complex in Edmonton. This facility will be operational by 2024, and it's going to help make Edmonton the center of Western Canada's hydrogen economy, something that will mean more investment and more good-paying middle-class jobs for people here in Alberta. Now, Canada is a trading nation, and our trading partners have decided that their economies are going green. What we're seeing in the world today is the biggest economic transformation since the Industrial Revolution. This can be, and it will be, an incredible opportunity for Alberta. Because Canada, very much including Alberta, has the resources, the people, and the expertise that we need to be a reliable supplier of energy in a net zero world. That's why our government is working hard to ensure that our energy industry here in Alberta and across the country can continue to grow and continue to be a source of great paying, really satisfying jobs. So what does that look like? Earlier this week, our government signed the Canada-Germany Hydrogen Alliance, one that will see Canada export hydrogen to Germany as Germany moves away from its dependence on Russian fossil fuels in the wake of Putin's barbaric and illegal invasion of Ukraine. German companies are already signing deals to buy made in Canada hydrogen. Those deals will create jobs and help our economy grow here at home, and they're going to help one of our closest allies reduce their emissions at the same time. When we met with the German delegation, we also talked about Germany's energy needs and the opportunities for Canada to export LNG, whether it is exploring LNG projects on the East Coast or getting even larger projects built off the West Coast, like the LNG Canada project in Kitimat, BC. Our government understands the economic and geopolitical importance of LNG and natural gas in the world today. And for a lot of the industries that are already such important contributors to the Canadian economy, we need to help them reduce their emissions so they can remain competitive and keep employing hardworking Canadians across the country. That's why, for example, in our spring budget, we leaned in on our refundable tax credit for businesses that invest in carbon capture, utilization, and storage. Something that is going to help the amazing innovators at Air Products I met here today. In fact, I spoke with Rachel about the importance of the CCUS tax credit for the work being done at Air Products. It was a very important, very helpful conversation for me. CCUS is going to be important for the oil and gas industry, and it's going to be important for industries like cement and steel production that need to reduce their emissions. Il y a des entreprises en ce moment même qui extraient le carbone de l'air et l'injectent dans le CO2 dans le béton. Ça peut sembler futuriste, mais cela se passe ici, en Alberta, et ça crée des emplois en même temps. La transition verte est un impératif moral, bien sûr, mais c'est aussi une nécessité économique pour nous. C'est la direction qui prend l'économie mondiale et nous ne pouvons pas traîner de l'arrière. I am really, really happy to be in Alberta today. I am really proud to have been born and raised here. And I really want Alberta to be at the heart of a strong, growing, clean energy economy. One that powers Canada and the world, one that allows people to continue to roll up their sleeves and earn a decent living for an honest day's work. The workers in the energy sector here in Alberta are some of the most experienced, talented, and resourceful in the world. Our economy depends on them, and our economy will continue to depend on them for generations to come. I want the workers here and across the province to know they have my commitment that our government will continue to be here as a partner for workers and businesses across Alberta. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take your questions. Yeah, and it's not so easy to hear, so I might ask you to repeat your question.
I do project my voice. It's Bill Fortier from CTV National News. The Prime Minister and the Secretary General of NATO are up in Nunavut right now talking about Arctic security. What can you tell us specifically about what Canada's plans are to increase military defenses in the north against potential Russian aggression?
It's a great question, and the Prime Minister and the NATO Secretary General chose that part of their itinerary very intentionally to highlight Canada's commitment to the north and to highlight Canada's commitment to Arctic security. In our budget in April, we meaningfully increased our spending on defense, and Canada is very committed to defending our Arctic and to working closely with our NATO allies. And I will just say, since we're talking about defense and NATO, we are absolutely committed to supporting the brave people of Ukraine in their fight for democracy and for their sovereignty. Yesterday was Ukraine's Independence Day, and so this is a really good opportunity for me to say to the people of Ukraine and to a lot of people in Alberta who I know care a lot about Ukraine, that Canada is going to be there with Ukraine, supporting the brave people of Ukraine for as long as it takes.
And just to follow up, what specifically will that money be used for when it comes to Arctic security? And is the country considering placing ballistic missiles to intercept any threat that comes from the north?
So, as you said, Bill, in your question, we have the Prime Minister and the NATO Secretary General right now in the north talking about Arctic security. It's something we're focused on. We're focused on doing more as Canada and doing more working with our allies. That's one of the reasons this trip is so important, the visit of the NATO Secretary General.
Michelle Bellefontaine, CBC. Canada has been reluctant for many years to involve NATO allies in our Arctic, mostly because of sovereignty concerns and how some allies don't recognize our claim to the Northwest Passage. So does the Secretary General's visit signal a change? Are we more willing to work with allies in the north, and why?
Let me answer that in two parts. First of all, Canada's position on the Northwest Passage is clear, and I want to be very clear with Canadians and the world that Canada is a northern nation, and we are very clear about continuing to assert our sovereignty over our north and our Arctic. When it comes to cooperating with our NATO allies, February 24th, the day that Putin launched his illegal invasion of Ukraine, changed the world. It means that Canada needs to collaborate ever more closely and in new ways with our NATO partners, and we're seeing allies step up and do new things. We're seeing Finland and Sweden change generational, historic positions and join NATO. So I absolutely think Canada is a part of this. Canada is a part of the closer NATO collaboration, and I am really pleased that the NATO Secretary General is here, because it's an opportunity for us to work even more closely together and to think of new ways that we need to work together.
Good afternoon, Minister. Lydia Vasilin from New Pathway Ukrainian News. Many Canadians were shocked that Canada allowed itself to be manipulated into returning one of the Siemens Nord Stream 1 turbines and for submitting to Russian blackmail. What is Ottawa going to do to rehabilitate its reputation as an honest broker and a moral player on the international stage. It seems kind of duplicitous to be talking about supporting Ukraine unconditionally, while at the same time facilitating Russia making money so it can continue to perpetrate genocide in Ukraine.
Look, I speak to Ukrainian government leaders very regularly. There is rarely a day when I don't speak to a Ukrainian cabinet minister in Ukraine. And that includes conversations I had on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So I'm in very close touch with the leaders of Ukraine, and so are very many members of our government. The government of Ukraine and the people of Ukraine know that the government of Canada and the people of Canada are strong supporters of Ukraine, that we recognize that this fight is not just Ukraine's fight. Ukraine is fighting for its sovereignty and for its democracy, but Ukraine is also fighting for democracy around the world. And I also recognize that it's only Ukrainians who are actually fighting and dying. So I am really humble when it comes to how much we should all respect Ukraine and recognize their extreme courage and their extreme sacrifice. Canada is supporting Ukraine with financial assistance, and I'm proud to say that Canada today has actually dispersed all of our promised financial assistance to Ukraine. That's a big deal, because it's one thing to promise the money, it's another thing for that money to hit Ukrainian bank accounts. And, you know, you don't need to trust me about this. Take a look at what the Prime Minister of Ukraine has been saying about the speed and effectiveness with which Canada has been getting that money to Ukraine. We know that that is really important. We're going to continue with that support. We are going to continue with military support to Ukraine. And again, when we had the questions about NATO, an important part of the visit of Jens Stoltenberg is for Canada to talk to NATO about military support for Ukraine. And finally, we are going to continue with the sanctions pressure on Russia. And I want to point out that Canada has led the way with our legislation, which was passed before the House rose, giving us the authority to confiscate sanctioned Russian assets and to use that money to help rebuild Ukraine. Canada is a leader there. That is something that is very important, something I'm proud of, something all Canadians should be proud of.
And as a follow-up, Madam, what is Ottawa going to do to help Germany and other European partners wean themselves off Russian gas in the interim while the hydrogen infrastructure is being built on such an ambitious schedule?
Yeah, I spoke about that a little bit in my remarks. It's important for us here in Canada to recognize how big the challenge is for European countries. They find themselves in a situation where they are dependent on Russia for energy. That puts them in a very economically vulnerable position. Canada has been very clear with our European allies that we understand we have a political responsibility to do whatever we can to help them with this energy crisis that they are going through. And that's one of the really important issues that was discussed with Chancellor Scholz. We are really in very constant conversation with leaders from across Europe, with leaders from the EU. And, you know, they know that Canada is there, and we are working on all the practical ways that we can support Europe. As people know, we have increased our production of oil and gas this year as part of that effort. And it's something that I'm proud of. I'm proud that Canada is able to support our democratic allies in this very important fight.
Hi, Minister. Tom Vernon from Global News. There was some disappointment here in Alberta from political leaders about the comments the Prime Minister made about LNG. You spoke about it in your remarks. If a business case is brought forward, is the federal government committed to helping see a project through if there is a business case found on the East Coast?
Yes.
On hydrogen, as we ramp up production here, there are a number of projects announced here in Alberta. Are we prepared for export capacity to these other markets? Is there a national strategy? Does there have to be a national strategy built on exporting hydrogen around the world in much greater quantities than we do now?
I could just say yes, which is true. And I will just say, I'll add to that a little bit and, say, coming here to Air Products today was a very intentional choice on my part. It was important for me to have a personal relationship with the people who work here and for them to meet me and for me to meet them and to hear directly from me that this is important. This is Alberta's future and this is Canada's future. And, I've rolled up my sleeves today and they're going to continue to be rolled up because I really believe in the work being done here. The federal government is a partner today, and we're committed to doing even more in the days to come. It's just really exciting to see what's happening here. It's exciting to see the strategic planning and exciting to see the work that's already happening.
Saket Baker from the Canadian Press. Jared Kushner's memoir describes how U.S. officials grew annoyed with you and Canada in the final bargaining sessions for the U.S.-Canada-Mexico trade deal. They accused the country of stalling and refusing to commit to any substantive changes. He writes that only after Trump held a news conference criticizing the country and you and threatening Canadian autos with tariffs, the Canadians gave the U.S. an offer in writing. Is that description of events accurate? And what's your response to Kushner's characterization of you?
The NAFTA negotiations with the Trump administration were a very challenging moment for Canada. And the thing I'm the most proud of is that our country took a Team Canada approach. We were united. Conservative premiers, a liberal government, mayors, trade unions, businesses. We understood this was an existential threat to our country. And, we also understood something that I see my cousins in Ukraine understand. When you're threatened by a bully, the answer is not to cave in. The answer is to be united and to stand strong. And, I don't want in any way to compare any challenge Canada has ever faced with, the deadly challenge Ukraine is facing right now. But I will say I'm proud of how Canada was strong and united when we faced a challenge. And I think it's that strength and unity that got us a great outcome.
Can I ask a follow-up? So employment insurance, temporary measures to employment insurance is expected to expire next month. When these measures address some of the very issues EI modernization is supposed to address, including moving away from regional and entrance requirements. Can you talk a little bit about why the federal government is letting that happen?
Sure. We put in place a number of emergency programs to deal with the COVID pandemic. This was an unprecedented, extraordinary moment when Canada faced a global pandemic, and in response to it, the right thing to do was to shut down our economy. Now, with hindsight, I am really proud of how Canada responded. There was a study that was published over the summer that calculated that had Canada had the mortality rate from COVID that they had in the United States, an additional 70,000 Canadians would have died. You know, think about that. I was born in a town of 6,000 people. That's more than 10 times the size of the whole town I was born in. And, you know, those are our grandparents, our parents who didn't die. So I think Canadians should really recognize it was hard getting through COVID. As a country, we did a pretty good job. To make that possible, we put in place some unprecedented emergency programs. The CERB, wage subsidy, rent subsidy, emergency COVID EI measures. And that was a big deal, and it cost a lot of money. And when we put those measures in place, I made a commitment to Canadians. And I said, these measures are in place because of this unprecedented global pandemic. They are in place to fight COVID. And the corollary to that commitment was when we stopped the unprecedented economic action to fight COVID, we had to stop the emergency programs. From my perspective, that was the deal with Canadians. And it was really important to me to be true to that deal. So it was the right thing to do to put the emergency COVID economic supports in place. And once the lockdowns ended, it was the right thing to do to lift those emergency supports, which is what we have done. Now, on EI, it's also true that this is a really important program. It's a program that is essential for Canadians and Canadian workers. And it's also true that, like everything, it needs to be renewed and modernized for the 21st century. Work is being done on that, led by my colleague Carla Qualtrough, and we are going to get that job done too. Can you speak from the mic because I can't really hear? I'm sorry.
Amanda with CTV Edmonton. I want to know a little bit more, circling back to your tour. What was it like? Was there anything that really sort of stood out or surprised you as they were giving you the tour of the facility?
Yeah, a few things. So one, I'm going to go home and say to my kids, you must become chemical engineers. There is so much exciting stuff happening in Canada and the world in chemistry, in engineering right now. You know, if I were 18 again, I think that I would want to be a chemical engineer. So that was my first thought. The second thing is I was really struck by and really inspired by the passion of the people I met here today for the jobs they are doing. You know, I've made a point this summer of talking to people who are working. Because it's one thing for me to talk to the economists in the Department of Finance or to call up Bay Street economists and to hear from them what's happening in the economy. But I used to be like you guys. I used to be a reporter, and I believe in shoe leather, and I think the way to really understand something is go out and talk to the people who are doing the work. That's what I did today, and I have to say, this is one of the places that has, you know, the best esprit de corps that I have seen. People understand that they are at the cutting edge of the transformation of the Canadian and world economy. and they are justly proud of that. And then the final thing on a more jokey note is they showed me their big control room, and some smart computer programmer person put a hockey player there as one of the icons on the computer screen that kind of indicates are things going well. I thought that was very cute and fun. And whoever in the history of this operation who invented that, it made me smile, and I think it makes your coworkers smile every day too. Yeah. Yeah, thanks everyone for coming out. Really appreciate it.